Hi, my name is Gary Harmer and I'm the Sales Director for Hikvision UK and Ireland. As much as we enjoy doing so, circumstances dictate that we're unable to hold the roadshows in the normal format. But we don't want you to miss out on what's new. That's why we will be running 6 of these sessions over the next 2 weeks so that we can keep you up to date with our technologies and solutions. Before we start, I would like to take the opportunity to thank our customers and end users alike for their continued loyalty and support of our brand. Over recent months, we have faced a few challenges together, but through collaboration across our whole supply chain, we have managed to maintain our customer-focused service levels. We truly value your ongoing support. We're going to start the series with a look at our back-to-work solutions. So let me give you a quick run-through of the format and agenda for today's event. We will start with a short overview presentation from our BDM, Louise Parsons. During the presentations, please feel free to ask any questions you have in the chat facility presented to you on the bottom of your screen. Throughout the course of the session, we will answer as many of those questions as we can. After that, we'll have a short break, 10 minutes or so, but don't worry, you'll see a clock and a timer countdown to when we will resume. Following the presentations, we'll move to a live demonstration, and again, there will be an opportunity for you to answer further questions as we go through the session. Feedback has always been really important to us, so we would like you to take part in a very short survey when the presentations are concluded. And that part will be with myself again at the end of the session. As a thank you for being here, your name is automatically entered into a prize draw for some great prizes. So, without further delay, let's get on with the show. I'm delighted to introduce to you our first presenter, Louise.
Thank you, Gary, and welcome everyone. I'm glad you could attend. So today we're going to run through the back to work solutions, which covers thermal imaging, density control, and mass detection. First of all, we're going to go through the thermal imaging. So why thermal? Now, there's three different symptoms out there at the moment to give a sign of this horrible virus that's going around. One is temperature. We have cough and loss of taste and smell. Now, a cough is obvious, loss of taste and smell, we can't really tell, but temperature is something that we can control, that we can assess and look at and do something about. The measures that we've got in place at the moment in the country are we have to wear face masks, some places are mandatory, we have social distancing, and we do hand sanitising and washing your hands for 20 seconds. They are all part of your PPE kit. So like if you were to go on a building site, you've got your hard hat, you've got your high-vis jacket, and you've got your steel toe cap boots. So this is the same. But what we're doing is we've got all those measures, but we're adding temperature screening to that as well, because it is a symptom. So it's one of the biggest things, one of the biggest symptoms that we've got that can give us an idea of this symptom. And it's just part of your PPE kit again. So why would you not add that in to make it a more stable, safer environment? What are the consequences of getting an illness within your premises, whether it's in the leisure industry or whether you are a business? Well, potentially you may have to shut down while you have a deep clean. So there's the cost of shutting down your business. Are you closing rooms for the night, which are costing you in money? Or is it the fact you've got a factory and you can't have all that production for a period of time? And the fact that maybe some of your staff or a lot of your staff are going to have to be quarantined. So there's that whole function. It's not just for a day, that's for 2 weeks. So if you look at all of those points there, there's quite a high cost involved in getting an illness within your business. So that's why you would have thermal. So how it works, I see as 3 different things here. First of all, we've got to look at the process. And this is something that the end user needs to look at with the help and assistance of maybe your installation partner. How is it going to work in your environment? So as you can see on the images here, we've got a couple of images, both showing you the same thing. You've got some airport style bollards up, and you've got people filtering into the premises, one at a time, ideally. You've got a person stood at a podium with a laptop and a thermal screening camera. And as people walk in, that's monitoring their temperature. That person will have a laptop, so they'll be able to see live the temperatures that are coming up. And you may have a sound or alarm or a light as well to assist. Now, that person, when he sees that somebody has got, or she sees that someone has got a temperature, they may pull them aside and give them a secondary test with a medical grade thermometer. And then you've got that decision, a process that you put in place, which says, what do you do if anybody does have an abnormal temperature? Do you send them home? I mean, that's the most likely consequence that you would have. So all of this is part of your process, how you see it working within your environment and then documenting that. Now, positioning is also very important. These are temperature screening devices, and what we are looking for is a degree of accuracy of 0.5 or 0.3 degrees. And to get that accuracy, it needs to be in a stable environment. As you can see in the image, we've got the filtering coming away from the doors so that we don't have the doors in the background. The problem with big glass doors or an entrance is if you have the camera within distance looking directly at those doors, you'll have the sunlight hitting the glass and giving you an immovicity rating, basically making it heat up in the background, which can confuse the camera, and therefore you have not got a stable environment. So what we've got here is there is nothing within range in the background of the detection zone that potentially could cause an issue. So we do massively have to think about that when designing the system. And then it comes into what piece of kit is going to be best for that type of environment. So whether you are in a retail, commercial premises, or some sort of leisure facility, you need to think about, A, where could we position something? And then what bit of kit is going to work best within that environment? So moving on to that, Hikvision, we've been around for many years and we're very well known and are #1 in the UK and worldwide for our security systems, so mainly our CCTV products, which we do a large range of. Some of you may be lucky enough to have visited our demonstration facility at Stockley Park near Heathrow and seen all of the different technologies that we have to offer, from body-worn technology, ATEX for high-end factories, also marine-grade cameras, and we've had thermal imaging for many years. It's just been used more for perimeter alarms along fence lines, or maybe even recycling centres where we're monitoring mounds of waste, maybe wood. So we know when it gets to a certain temperature, we can get an alert when it's at an unsafe level. Now, what we've got here is we've got temperature screening to measure the body temperature, which is accurate to 0.5 degrees. And what we've done is we've brought that temperature range in to only measure between 30 and 45 degrees. So that is body screening. It's been used over in the Far East for many, many years now, where at airports, it's already been a process. They've learned from other illnesses that they've got these things in place. Now, part of this temperature screening, we have many different available solutions for you. So on the top left there, you can see we do a range of static cameras with fixed lenses and a black body calibrator, which emits a heat source to give you a more reliable 0.3 degree of accuracy. Over in the right, you've got our handheld cameras, and all of this, we've got most of it on display here today, and we will be doing a demonstration later to give you that more information. We've got the MIMO terminals, which we're going to take a deeper look at in a moment, and then we've got the metal door detectors. Now these, I see them working quite well in maybe an environment where you've got an event or an arena, so you might want to do metal detection as well on entry to that for security purposes. And you want to screen for temperature measurement as well. So that obviously needs to have its own processes, as you'd perhaps put any of your belongings within a tray and have that going on the right or the left-hand side, and then you walk through the metal detector at the same time. It's also quite a nice one for just creating a screening process. People can see exactly where they've got to filter through. So where would you use temperature screening? And the answer is pretty much everywhere. Whether it's an airport, which they seem to, a lot of them have temperature screening in place now, or even schools, anywhere where we need to reduce the risk down, which is everywhere. Hospitals may have it. They'll probably want the black body devices because they need it to be an accuracy of 0.3 degrees. Offices, that's a common one as well. So when you are going back to work, you as an employee can feel safer to know the people around you don't have one of the main symptoms of this horrible virus. Now, the Mimo device, this is one of my favourite devices at the moment, and yes, I do have a favourite, which is slightly sad. We have the 7 and the 10-inch units, which we've got behind me. They are the same firmware, but ultimately do the same thing, except for the 7-inch would be more of a wall mount device or maybe desk mounted, and the 10-inch is a plug and play unit. It literally comes out the box like that. We can have them going to a small tablet. So if you had HR or a receptionist or just an office where you want to see one-to-one live the people coming in or get any alerts that come straight through from the Mimo units, you can have one of those tablets, and it can also act as an intercom facility as well. We can have the reporting coming through on our software. So you've got a snapshot there from our 4200, and then you can print off on an Excel sheet at the end of the day. The great thing with the Mimo is we use true thermographic technology. There are some different types of Mimo solutions out there which use thermopile, as is actually thermographic. And what that means is it works like the cameras where we are looking for a face capture and then the forehead. You don't have to predefine your face up to the screen to get a capture. By doing this, it means we can get a larger read range at up to 2 meters. And it's obviously a quicker process when you're approaching the unit because you don't have to line yourself up. So we've had a look at the thermal imaging now, and I think we've pretty much covered it. We will come back to it on the demonstration, but now we're just going to slip into density control. So obviously we're looking at social distancing, and with that, you don't want to let too many people in one premise because you can't have crowding. So you may want to limit numbers into somewhere, okay? By doing, one way of doing this would be to put people cameras up above the door. And now these are a top-down camera, so they literally look down and count people going in or out. We can do this on multiple entrances too. And we can simply link that up to some sort of LED light. If you look in the bottom left-hand corner there, you've got a snapshot from the entrance to our demo facilities. You can see a red LED light, and that can obviously go green when there is space for people to go in. You can also link up other devices, like a monitor, and have a display, which we're going to run through on here, where you can actually see the number of people that are already in the premises and whether you are allowed to go in or out. And that indicates it also by color coding, so green or red. So it is very visual. You may need a HDMI extender for that monitor if you want to present it by the entrance doors. Here, what we're showing you is we have this camera on 2 gates, counting in and out, and it's actually counting that total number on the screen there. So we can have multiple units in one premises. Where would you have this kind of solution? Well, the obvious one, I think, is retail. That's the first one that tends to come to mind. But the other ones we could use it in is maybe a canteen. So you may have a factory or education, university, and you can only have a certain amount of people in that canteen at one time. We also do our digital display boards like the one behind me. And the great thing about that is you could potentially have a menu on display as well. This may save time when you're going up to choosing your food whilst you're in the queue rather than waiting till you get to the counter. And obviously that's speeding up that process within the canteen to get good flow. Now, one that has come up a few times, and it does sound a little bit odd, is toilets. So I've been to quite a few toilets in my time. Doesn't sound quite right. Where you walk up to the door and you've got a sign there saying only 2 people allowed at one time. How am I supposed to know behind that closed door how many people are in that toilet? And the answer is, I don't know. So by having a people counting camera on the door with a green or a red light, you know whether it is safe to enter. And you don't have that awkward situation. So simply all we need here is a people counting camera with a relay going to an LED light. It makes it very, very simple. So yes, that has and is done. So moving away from density, we've got our last subject today, and that is mass detection. A lot of our products, as you can see behind me, so the cameras and the Mimos actually have mass detection built in. Okay, so that is where you can get a notification on somebody not wearing a mask. It may be simply that they have forgotten, but the great thing is we can get audible sounds from these devices, which can just remind people to wear a mask. And obviously now that it's mandatory, it's good to have this solution in place because it helps keep a hold on it all. What kind of places are going to need mask detection solutions? And the answer is anywhere it's mandatory. We've got education. So I think students now between their classes have to wear a mask. So it's just a gentle reminder when walking around the school to wear masks. Any environment of work. So we've got factories, offices, anywhere again, where you have areas where you have to wear a mask. And then we've got retail. So there's loads of different options. So that covers the presentation for today. We're going to have a short break. And after the break, we'll be going into a full demonstration. And then we'll be covering questions. Now, at the end of all of this, Gary will be doing a questionnaire, Mentimeter. So if you can and are happy to take part in this, please just go online now on a separate tab and just put in the Mentimeter website and put in the 7-digit code. So you've got that ready for the end of the presentation where you can take part in that questionnaire. Also, if you could just pop any questions you may have for Dan and I or Michael and I at the end. If you go to the bottom of your Zoom, you will have a little section there. It just says Q&A. Press on that, input any questions, and then they'll be there ready for us at the end when we've been through our demonstration. So you're going to have a short 10-minute break now, and I will join you after the break with my colleague, Daniel Hawkins. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a nice cup of coffee or a tea there. I'm joined by Daniel Hawkins. And we're just going to go through a live demonstration. Just a reminder, if you can, go to the bottom of your Zoom and ask any questions that you may have. Just click the Q&A and just type your questions in there and we will cover it at the end. Right, so we're going to just cover some scenarios now. So Dan, if I had a large entranceway, maybe I had quite a prestigious hotel, and I want something quite discreet, maybe a camera, but I've got quite a wide entrance of people coming in. What bit of technology would I use there?
Thanks, Louise. I would pick the medium resolution cameras. They have a larger viewing angle, and they can also screen 30 people at once. They also have an accuracy of 0.5 degrees. They give you an optical and a thermal image. If you stand on the cross, you can see that the optical image looks for the face, picks the spot where to do the temperature screening, which is the forehead, and then you get the bounding box on the thermal image.
Fantastic. So say that I would be happy to filter people in rather than having a wide entrance. So they're going to come in one at a time. Maybe it's a factory. I've got to screen 150 people every half an hour coming through that filtering process. What could I use then?
We have a low resolution thermal turret and bullet. These also have a read accuracy of 0.5 plus or minus. But the standout feature of these is that they have a flashing LED and an audible alert to alarm you of an abnormal temperature.
Interesting. What if I don't really want a manned solution and I just want something that someone can simply go up to and screen themselves? So maybe I've got a restaurant and I just want visitors to come in and feel that peace of mind when they walk in and getting screened. What would I use?
Sure. We have the 7-inch MIMO and the 10-inch MIMO, which you elaborated on earlier on. If you stand up to the devices,
authenticated,
it will do a face recognition check or not a face recognition check if the face isn't in the library, and it can give you an audible or visual alarm.
Fantastic. And we've got this little tablet here as well, which is the one I was talking about in the presentation, that can link up one-to-one to either of these MIMO units, and you can get the alerts and you get the temperature alerts on there, and you can get a no mask alert on there too. So they're very impressive. What portable solutions do we have? So say, for instance, I have a school and I wanted to screen the children between 8 and 9 in the morning, and then maybe take it to the canteen to do some screening at lunchtime. What products could we use then?
We have two devices, mainly handheld devices. This lower resolution version, but we also have the higher resolution version, which has Wi-Fi built in and is able to mount on a tripod stand.
Okay, and can that one make an audible alarm when there is a temperature?
Both will alert you when there is an abnormal temperature, yes.
That's fantastic. So moving on to some questions. Can we use any of this equipment outside?
No. The solution needs to be in a stable internal environment. temperature screening cameras, unfortunately, don't play well in adverse weather conditions.
Okay. And how do I know which temperature screening product is best for the site that I'm working with?
If you're an installer, then please contact your BDM or your local distributor or your preferred distributor. If you're an end user, then contact your preferred installer of choice.
Excellent. And can we get any types of reports from these systems?
Sure. If the devices are on your local network and connected to either our software IVMS 4200 or Hike Central, you can pull back all of those thermal statistics.
Okay. So if I've got an existing CCTV system, which is Hikvision, and I've got the Hikvision 4200 or Hike Central software already, can I combine my existing cameras on the same platform of software as well as this temperature screening or the density control?
Sure. All of the cameras, all of the MERs will all work with IVMS 4200 or Hike Central. Just add into the thermal cameras and you've got a full interoperable system.
Excellent. Can I link the MIMOs to a door so that the door only opens when the person doesn't have a temperature?
The MIMO has a number of operating modes, including mask detection or recognition if you have a face library.
Excellent. Now, are there any GDPR concerns over temperature screening?
There is a responsibility by the owner or the operator of the system to manage the GDPR requirements. The thermal images themselves contain no data, so they don't fall under GDPR jurisdiction. However, once you add in an identifier such as a network recorder or an access control point, then GDPR comes into play. If there are any more questions about that, and we have some great information on our website, we have a document there.
Excellent. On the people counting solution, if we have more than one entrance, can we count the number centrally and know how many people are in that building at one time?
Yeah, sure. If we add our density control firmware to our MVRs, we're able to produce real-time results, such as the images that you have behind you on the monitor.
Absolutely fantastic. And pointing out the monitor there, we do have our density control monitor here. This can take in several inputs. So you may have your people counting cameras. You can link up the numbers on the top. You may want to link the thermal camera as well. And on the bottom, you can have any type of advertising. So whether that's COVID related, wear a mask, or whether it's just advertising or a menu, you've got that option. We also do the density box that we're giving away today that you could use on a normal monitor. It just simply fits on the back. It's a very small device, and you can have that same display on a monitor within a store or an environment anywhere that you need it, and it all sits on a network. So again, another reminder to get those questions in. So if you can see at the bottom of your page, a little Q&A section. So it says there Q&A, simply press on that again and submit any questions you've got. I'm going to be running through them now with my colleague who is stood behind me. Welcome, Michael Dye.
Hello, Louise.
He's the product manager for the thermal imaging cameras. And what Michael doesn't know about thermal imaging, it's not worth knowing. Right, so we've got some questions, Michael.
Yeah.
So I hope you've briefed yourself and you're ready
sure.
to go.
I'm ready.
First of all, we've got a question there. How much area covered, like how much area is covered, like how many meters from the camera?
Well,
distance?
it depends on like different focal lengths of the cameras. For the high-end ones, we can cover up to 9 meters. And for the entry-level eco cameras, we can cover up to 3 meters. And for the handheld cameras, it's 2.5 meters for the high-end and 1 meters for the eco range handheld cameras.
Fantastic. And we can actually stand about 2 meters away from the MIMO as well, which is a very decent distance. So next question, do all the thermal devices support Hike Central software?
Yes, all the thermal devices exclude the handheld eco ones. So because the handheld eco cameras, it's a standalone camera. It doesn't have Wi-Fi functions, so you can only work as standalone system. But all the other cameras are supposed to Hike Central.
Fantastic. How would the density control software be suitable for a corporate building?
Well, it's definitely suitable because you can install different cameras in different engines, and it can aggregate all the data together, and you can get overall data, like how many people in and how many people out, the total data of the system.
That's fantastic. What's the accuracy on the people counting camera?
Well, if you follow the guidance of the installation and the configuration, the accuracy can be 98% and above.
Okay, lovely. Will the current MVRs that are not compatible with the thermal cameras become compatible in the future with firmware updates? So I think that would allude to like the K series recorders that aren't compatible.
Yeah, so now only I series and DeepMind is compatible with thermal cameras. For the K series, we don't have any plan in the near future to support. Yeah.
I mean, they are our lower end recorders. They're not meant for the specialist cameras and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone said, good presentation. Well, thank you very much. Do the handheld devices support Hike Central and IVMS 4200? I think we've covered that one already, and the answer was the Pro handheld, wasn't it?
This one.
Not the Eco. How much area density will it cover? I think we're talking about the density solutions with the people counting camera.
Yeah, so people counting cameras, like it's you mounted a ceiling mount, and it's like the face the ground. So it's just one area to detect the people in and out. You can draw one line, and you can draw boxes to detect people in and out. So just one entrance.
Yes, we do have a people counting guide as well, installation guide, and on there you can see, dependent on the height, the width that you would get for that particular entrance. So yes, just contact us and we can supply you with that guide. Do they have standard input outputs to control output alarms and relays?
Yes, so all our cameras, it has alarm input and outputs, and then it can be triggered by the mask alarms, also temperature alarms. Yeah.
The Ecos, I believe, actually have one output, and the medium resolution ones have two, don't they, Michael?
Yes, it has two.
And then we have on the MIMO units as well as an alarm output. So, do you always need an MVR or a computer, or can any of the cameras be used independently, simply linked to a monitor to show visitors' temperatures?
Well, for the cameras, you have to connect it to MVR or a PC running IVMS 4200 or Hike Central. But if you have like a standalone MIMO, you can work it as a standalone solution. But for cameras, you have to connect the software or MVR.
Connect something to it.
Yes.
Okay. Do all the thermal cameras have a deep in mind and deep learning feature?
So now for the fixed cameras, like these bullet and turret cameras, they have deep learning function to filter out false alarms. So it is for facial recognition. And also the MIMO, it is for facial recognition. But for the handheld one, like the Eco, also the Pro camera, they don't support the facial recognition. So it can only detect the hottest spot in the screens. So you have to make sure in the background, there's no other heat sources.
Very important point there from Michael. On density control, do you need two cameras so as to get face recognition, as leaving it will only capture the rear of you?
Well, our density control people counting cameras, it knows it's not based on facial recognitions. Yeah, so you can use just one camera. For example, if you just one entrance and access it together, just one door, so it can count people in both directions, in and out. So it can give you a figure.
It's a top-down view as well, so it works a little bit differently to that. What reporting can be done through the IVMS 4200?
Well, it depends on what functionalities you got. So if you talk about the temperature screenings, so you can get a report, okay, like what's the high temperature is and what time you get a log of the temperature measurement. If you're for the density control, you can also get a report of people in and out.
I know from my previous experience here with the MIMO units as well, if you have a Hike Central software and the right module with it, you can actually do time and attendance too. So we can take this as simple or as far as you want to take it. What reporting, we've done that one. Just having a look through here. What's the smallest number of inputs available on a suitable MVR? Currently, we are using an 8-way MVR for just one camera.
Yes, if you want to work with the temperature screening solutions, so you know the MVR should be I-series MVR or DeepMind. So the minimum channel numbers for I-series now is 7608, which is 8 channels. So I think you'll get the right MVR.
So you are using the right one, yes. Do Do the Minmos come with a range of mounting options, please? How easy is the plug and play, perhaps?
Yes, so Minmo, we have different brackets. We have like this, like the counter table bracket. We also have the floor stand brackets. Yeah.
And we do a turnstile mount as well for the Minmo. So the 7-inch is either wall, turnstile, desk, and there is a stand for it, or this one comes as a plug and play. And it is very simple. There is literally a kettle lead at the back and a network cable there. If a Minmo triggers an alarm of a high temperature, can it send an email alert? Great question.
Well, yeah, this question is actually a little bit technical for me. I think I need to double check this, yeah.
Yes, so we do have linkage actions from the cameras and the Minmo units to link up to emails. So just check that the solution that you're looking at can do that. But yes, most of them can actually trigger an alert via an email, and some of them can actually send a notification to a mobile phone as well. Can you export a number of people in the building? Can you export the number of people in the building from IVMS from the Minmo? You would have a list of people on your database that would have come through. If you want to do things like that and get that kind of data, then I would advise you go for the time and attendance software, so that you actually can use it as a reporting feature there and you can see exactly who is in the building. I don't think I've missed any there, have I? Looks like we've completed them all. So thank you very much for your time from us. I'm going to say goodbye to Michael.
Thank you, Louise.
No worries. And I think we've covered quite a lot there. And if you do need to contact any of us, you have your local BDMs who can help you with any further questions. I'm going to refer you back to Gary now, who's going to run through the prize draw and the questionnaire that we've got as well. So thank you very much.
A huge thanks to Louise, Dan and Michael there. Some really, really interesting questions in from our viewers. Thank you for those. I hope that we've answered those for you sufficiently. But what I would say is that there is a huge amount of information available on our website, hikvision.com. There's a temperature screening section there where all of the questions that you've heard covered today will be answered in full detail on various documents. You can also download various video clips of the technology actually in use. So I'd encourage you to have a look at our website for more information.